Hi, so I haven't slept in like 50 something hours, so I'm in that part of sleep eraser where I think people care about my opinions and I'm a total genius. So today I'm going to tell you, as a certified member of the Illuminati, why the government is not using COVID masks to control you. And the short answer is because they don't have to. Guys, it's the US government. This is one of the most powerful. Also, I'm going to be drawing Illuminati stuff on my hand. This is one of the most powerful organizations on the planet. And you think they have to use COVID? Like, they have to use masks that are usually homemade in order to control you? Dude, it's the government. We have the bombs. So, like, let's just go over the list of things that the government can do to control you that are not masked, because seriously, why would they ever use mask? That's not a thing they have to do. They're the government. So, the first thing that the government can use to control you is make laws. They do that pretty often. I would say that's a pretty common way the government can control you. Now, personally, I do think it is against my freedoms as an individual to not be able to steal things from Walmart that I don't want to have to pay for. But I do understand that some laws need to be in place because, no, I don't understand it, but I'm going to pretend to be a reasonable person who doesn't think we should just descend into anarchy and I should be allowed to murder people. But yeah, I think the only law that should actually be in place is that rich people should have to give me personally all of their money. Yeah. So, like, if the government wants you to do stuff, they can just make a law to get you to do stuff. The government didn't want you to do drugs. Look what they did. They made a law, and now it's illegal to do drugs. They can just make random stuff illegal whenever they want. They don't need a reason. They're the government. You're gonna vote. Like, they might get voted out of power, but that's not gonna make the laws go away. Even if you vote someone out of power, the laws they make are still there. So it's like, you just need one person who's willing to sacrifice. By the way, congressmen still get paid for their lifetime, even if they don't get reelected. So literally, you just need one person who's like, I'm done governing, and then they make a law that, like, the color yellow is now illegal. And the color yellow is just illegal unless the Supreme Court's against it. And guess who chooses the Supreme Court? The government. So, yeah. Like, they can just do stuff whenever they want. They did this with COVID, where they made mask wearing kind of illegal in certain areas. But, like, they can make anything illegal. If they want you to drink the mind control water, they can just get you to drink the mind control water, which is another thing the government controls. You guys realize they control the bloody tap water, right? Like, it's not like, oh, this is a weak little organization that's trying to... No, they control what's in the tap water. They regulate what's in the tap water. I mean, if you wanted to give a mind control drug effectively to every person in America, would you make a law that is uncomfortable and no one has to follow and you have to keep it up, and an entire fake pandemic to keep it around? Or would you just throw some drug in the water that everyone has to drink or else they die? Where else are you going to get water? The stream? This is America. All our streams are filled with plastic and trash because we're too cool to not litter. That's a lie. I mean, in both political parties, I think everyone's not cool with littering. But yeah. I mean, somebody's got to be cool with littering because they keep doing it. I'm sorry, if you litter, you're a jerk. I don't respect you if you litter. I don't understand it. It's not yours. You don't just throw trash on other people's stuff. Yeah. So I'd also like to point out the government has the FDA, which controls controls what's in all the food in this country and controls what food can be brought in and out of this country. So again, they can just be like, sorry guys, you gotta put the mind control bug in the food, and you wouldn't be able to do anything because you're not a homesteader. You still go to Walmart and you still buy Cheetos. Everyone buys Cheetos. This is America. Like, I am much more likely to believe that there are mind control drugs in Cheetos. It makes so much more sense to put mind control drugs in, like, Cheetos and Coke than it ever does to put mind control drugs in masks. And that's another thing with masks. They're homemade. I made my own masks, so they'd have to put mind control properties in every single mask that exists, like old fabric. I made a mask out of an old t-shirt. How are they going to put drugs in that? Like, how? It'd make more sense to put drugs in the water that I use to wash my clothing that I get from the government. So yeah, that just doesn't make sense. Another thing the government can use, if just putting drugs isn't really your thing, another thing to note is that if you carry your cell phone around, your government has access to information of where you are for every second of the day because your phone company keeps the information of where you are every second of the day. Now, this is a setting you can turn off, right? But I turned it off on my phone. And I'm not a computer programmer. I don't know how the phone works. So how do I actually know the setting is turned off? How do I know they're not still collecting the data? They're just telling me they're not. And like, you know who would stop them if they were doing that? The government. But if the government is buying the data from them, then the government's not going to stop them. So for all I know, my phone really is tracking every movement I do, despite the fact I did the setting to turn it off. And how many millions of people didn't do the setting to turn it off? Quite a few because the companies keep making money off this stuff and they're attracting like phone settings to it. If you've ever been asked to rate a location, your phone's tracking you, bro. Let's see. Another thing the government can use to control you, if all of that fails, is they do control what's in the air. So they can just put drugs in the air. They control what's in all the streams. They control what level of pollution you're allowed to put in everything. Yeah, so like just everything you consume, the government controls. So yeah, just assume if you eat something, it could have mind control drugs in it, and there's nothing you can do. And even if you buy your own chickens, like, where did you buy the chickens from? You've got to be raising like, freaking, what's it called? Heirloom chickens from back when they didn't have mind control in them. And guess who you buy the chicken feed from? It's regulated by someone. Guess who it's regulated by? Probably the government. Yeah. So, but they don't have mind control drugs. So what else can they do to control you? Well, they educate your child. They control the standards. Even if you homeschool your kid, they control the standards for what you have to educate your child on. So every form of information you teach your child has to go through the government in order to be sanctioned as educational stuff. So yeah, your child's education is controlled by the government. So that's fun. Can we just talk about how some people are just so submissive to the government that they are actually arguing that government employees, police officers, should just be allowed to kill people. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think police officers should exist. I think that I should be able to murder whoever I want, whenever I want, without consequence, because I don't believe in government. I believe in monkey law, where all the monkeys do whatever they want. But if you are a person who, believes, if you're a person who's at all skeptical of the government, you should be really skeptical about the concept that, people want the government to just be able to murder whoever they want in broad daylight without consequence. Cops are government employees. You guys realize that, right? Like, cops are government employees who have been proven repeatedly to just be able to shoot people in the head and get away with it. Now, if the government wanted somebody dead, it's pretty easy to just have a cop murder them. Also, the government can just arrest you for any reason. Technically, you need to go to trial, but before you go to trial, they can keep you on bail, and that bail can be set to whatever amount they want. So if the government wants to keep you detained indefinitely, they can just say, okay, well, you're arrested for whatever with no bail, and then they just keep you arrested indefinitely, and eventually you go to trial. But guess what a judge is? It's a member of the government. And they, who collects the information on the case? The cops, which are government employees. So, like, if the government wants you arrested, you will be arrested and you will never see the light of day again. Like, that's just a fact. And that's assuming they don't just send a police officer to no consequence kill you with a no-knock warrant where they break down your door, shoot your dog, and yes, no-knock warrants specifically state that you have to shoot the dog. So they break down the door, they shoot your dog, and then they arrest you, and 10% of the time they don't even get the right house because, they're banging down the door. And police officers are allowed to suck at their job indefinitely with no consequences whatsoever. So in conclusion, every aspect of your life is controlled by the government. They can do whatever they want to you. Also, they can just take away whatever percent of their income, your income, that they think is fair. They can take away, what was it? Yeah, they can just take all of your assets and seize them without due process, without doing anything. They're just like, oh, you did a drug. And they can just take every asset you have and do whatever they want with it, to the point that a lot of police departments specifically make money off of taking people's assets and doing whatever they want with it. Now, I don't know about you, but that seems like a really bad system. Also, there's an entire business that specifically makes money off of arresting people. So that also seems like a bad system, but you can just do it. Who's going to stop them? The government? You know, maybe you can try and shoot the government. Yeah, shoot the government that has nukes, nuclear weapons. Like, what are you going to do, man? What are you going to do? You think your AK-47 is going to hold a thing when they can just nuke your entire town, no warning, because they have enough weapons to destroy the world 10 times over? So in conclusion, if the government wanted to destroy you or your livelihood or make you wear a mask or whatever, they don't need to come up with a pandemic. They can just do it. Like, they can do whatever they want. We are the government's bitches. And every time you're like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be the government's bitches, some guy's gonna show up and they're gonna be like, Blue Lives Matter. I want to be a cop's, I want a cop to have sex with me. Yes, daddy, harder, please shoot me in the streets. And that'll just be a thing people are okay with. So in conclusion, if you're complaining about wearing a mask, because the government is controlling you, but you're cool with the government controlling what you eat, what you drink, what you consume, what you're educated with, whether or not you're shot in the streets, I don't think that's a genuine opinion. I think you're just an asshole.